Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg, and welcome to, I guess a new series. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna call it, and it may change if anybody has any good suggestions, but this is going to be a series basically where I get to do what I normally do, but in a environment where I actually should be doing it. And so I'm basically just going to be playing whatever game I feel like playing at the time, and just talking casually about whatever I feel like talking about. So it's going to be a very casual series. And probably do this just once a week or something whenever I got something new to talk about. And because I can't really do much of the stream nowadays, and nobody really watches it. So I figured more people are going to watch this. It's a good enough alternative, so it'll do. So yeah, we're going to be playing some Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition on the PS4. And we're just gonna shoot the shit. Now, what's unfortunate is, a couple hours ago, I recorded an hour-long video of Mangg Souls Casual Edition, where I started a new playthrough of Dark Souls, and I talked for an hour about just stuff. And as soon as I went to go hit the end record button, my computer decided to shut down. So I lost everything. And that kind of pissed me off. I didn't care for that. And I decided I didn't really want to re-record Dark Souls and start another new playthrough. So it's like, you know what, we'll just change the format. And I'll just play whatever I feel like playing. Which, for right now, is Diablo 3. But, yeah, it is what it is. I think I have to get, like, a new power supply or something. I hope that's what it is, at least. Yeah, so I guess I'll probably just repeat most of the same topics I discussed, because that is kind of what I wanted to talk about. Throughout the series, I'll probably inevitably mention certain things going on in whatever game I'm playing, just because that's how it tends to go, but it definitely won't be the focus. So
would fall to despair.
This series, you're gonna have to pretty much appreciate my random blatherings and ranting and stuff like that about whatever topic I feel like talking about. The choice of game or my playing ability or whatever it may be, the game is not too important. I think I went, in that video, I went on like a mini rant about video games versus board games. Because it started with me talking about Destiny. Because I haven't played any Destiny since I recorded that video. And that's partly because Ziggy's out of town this weekend. Fans of my other series, Admit One, may have noticed that. But, so he's out of town this weekend, so I don't want to, like, get too far ahead, and mostly I don't want to play alone, so. But I was talking about, like, how I've been spending some cash on board games recently. And how it seemed like a much more sound investment. Because, like, Destiny, spent $60 on it. And this isn't, like, I mean, it's just a a specific example. But like, you spend $60 on Destiny. If I'm optimistic, I'll put like 10, 15 hours into it. If I get a group of people that are, we get really into it, maybe like 40 hours or something. And then after that, it's just, that's it, you know. It just sits on my shelf, because I don't really return games that aren't called Deadpool. And so, it just sits there. I'm never going to throw it out, because I would feel bad. But I'm 98 years old, I'm on my deathbed, and just, yeah, there's Destiny over there. That's nice. Or you can spend $60 on some board games. You could maybe get like one pretty big board game. Like, most board games don't go for $60. So you can get probably 2, depending on how little you want, maybe up to like 4 or 5 something. You get a nice selection of board games for $60. And those, you know, it's a lot more versatile. And it has more longevity, you know. You got people coming over, you're not going to bust out Destiny. You can bust out a board game. Or like, my parents, you know. I could never get my parents to play Destiny, or any video game, really. But you take like a simple card game, like No Thanks, or Love Letter, or something, and they'll say, sure, we can play, whatever. Or anything, you know, you have a dinner party. You can bust out Cash and Guns. Now, yeah, you might say you can bust out, like, Mario Kart or something, but some people would poo-poo on any video game. And there are people that would poo-poo on any game of any kind, but you don't want to invite these people over to your home, so... I just feel... Again, I kind of just jumped onto this hobby, I know. And I still like video games, definitely. I'm playing one. But... I don't know, I don't see board games as a bad investment. I mean, you have to be one of those people that's gonna, like, push board games onto other people when you're around them. But I am one of those people, so I'm not too concerned that I'm never gonna get to play them. I mean, video games definitely have their... If you don't get a group together that plays board games, and you don't go to like your local store or anything like that, yeah, video games let you play, you know, they're a better solo experience, and the online is a big bonus. They have their place, they're not going anywhere, but I'm okay spending some money on board games. And speaking of spending money on board games, I bought a few, and I plan on buying a few more this week. I've yet to play any of them that I just bought, but I've been watching a lot of YouTube stuff
I need to go back.
about gaming. I watched pretty much all the tabletop episodes starring Will Wheaton, and I'm kind of late to that series. I know it's been going on for a little while, and you know it's a popular thing, and I kind of missed the initial boat, but I went through and I watched pretty much all of them, and I enjoy them for the most part. There were some guests that I think could have skipped out. But for the most part, it was an enjoyable series to watch. I really liked the one that really sticks to my mind is the Shadows over Camelot episode with the Penny Arcade guys. That they just made the game seem really fun, and it's one of the games I bought. So yeah, I hope they. I think they got a season 3, although I don't think they've done
My pack is full.
any new episodes for that. So, I've also been watching... I think I mentioned that I watched all the Watch It Played episodes. And those are good. But I've mostly been watching a YouTube channel called The Dice Tower. And Dice Tower... they cover pretty much every game that comes out in one form or another. They have a bunch of different reviewers. And if it's a game that I'm really interested in, learning more about, I'll watch, whoever they have reviewing it. But for the most part, I only really care if Tom Vassell reviews it, because he's the best. But as far as just casual enjoyment and learning more about board games, I've been watching all their top 10 lists. So they'll do top 10 cooperative board games, top 10 board games for 6 people, top 10 Euro games, top 10 party games. They'll do all sorts of lists like that. And they're really just kind of fun to watch, entertaining to listen to these guys, because these guys really know and love board games. And so they'll just ramble on for like an hour talking about all sorts of different board games. And that's so my style, Like, that seems like exactly what I would do if I did a board game show. And so, you got Tom Vassell there, who's the most knowledgeable one, And then you got Z Garcia, who's the most entertaining one in my opinion. And then you have Sam Healy, who's there to just kind of disagree with everything the other two say. But, no, it's really entertaining. So I recommend Dice Tower if you want to just learn in general more about board games. I've learned a tremendous amount about different board games over the last couple of weeks. A tremendous amount. I recommend Tom Vassell's reviews. I recommend Watch It Played if you want to specifically see how any given game that he's done is played. He definitely does a very good job of going over any given game, although he doesn't cover as many games as I would like. He takes a long time to do his episodes, but they are well done. And I recommend Tabletop just for enjoyable playthroughs of games featuring celebrities. Most of them are pretty entertaining. But, back to my original point. I got all this junk. So, of course, I've been looking at, games to buy. Where do you really start when you're starting a new board game collection? And the Dice Tower did do a top 10 essential games that everyone should own, and that was a pretty helpful list. I definitely grabbed a few off of there. Mostly, again, I listened to what Tom Vassell has to say, because I think his interests in genre align with what I feel I like as well. But the three of them cover a pretty decent range of choices. Z is a bit more into kind of abstract games, and Sam is a bit more into war games, but they all recognize generally a good game. But Tom's favorite game, number one, is a game called Cosmic Encounter. And so, just the fact that he said it was his favorite game, and he talks about it a whole bunch, just by that fact, I had to at least check it out. You know, I had to see what was going on with this. But then once I actually learned more about it and how it worked and what was going on, then I had to buy it. And so it's a space themed game, although the theme itself is not very strong. As you know, some other games like Twilight Imperium or something like that, you know, you could theoretically replace the theme with some, you know, pirates or something. I don't know. But anyways, it's besides the point. The game itself is what's going on. And so it's a game mostly about negotiation, I would say, is the main keyword. And there's some bluffing going on, there's some backstabbing going on, there's some intrigue, I guess. But how it works in short summary is, hold on. Stick with those ferrets. How it works is, at the start of the game, the base game plays for 2 to 5, although I don't know why you'd ever play with 2. I'm not sure why you'd ever play with 3 either. 5 seems like the right number. So we'll assume 5 players, and they each get 5 planets in their color. So there's red, yellow, blue, green, and purple, I think, in the base game. And they get 20 ships, also in their color. And so the planets are all arranged in a circle, and the order doesn't really matter too much. And then the ships are distributed 4 to each planet. So it's all very equal. And how the gameplay actually works is, on any person's turn, they will draw a card from the Destiny deck. And the Destiny deck consists of each player's color on a card, so there'll be red cards, yellow cards, so on and so forth. There'll be wild, which lets you pick any color, and then there are some special cards as well. And so, say that I am yellow, and I draw the red card off of the Destiny deck. That means that I, for this encounter, have to attack the red player. Okay? So you set up this little cardboard hyperspace gate thing that they have. You point it at any one of Red's planets. Any planet that has red ships on it, I think. And so you can take any number of ships. No, 1 to 4 ships off of any colony you have. So at the start of the game, you're probably going to take 3, because you don't want to leave a planet defenseless. Although I haven't played this game yet, so I don't know specific strategies. And so say I take 3 and I put it on the hyperspace gate, and that's my offense. And sitting on the planet is probably going to be 4 at the start of the game. So it's my 3 ships versus his 4. And whoever has more ships wins. So, Mangg, you say. That seems so simple. You lose. Aha! Well, after you set that up, you go to the allying phase, or the ally phase. The alliance phase, whatever you want to call it. And so, after I place the ships, I would look at the other players, and I would say, I want on my side, to side with me, green, purple, and blue. And then the red player, the defense, would say, I also want those 3 players on my side. And then we would look at the green player, and he would either have to side with the offense or the defense, or neither, and just stay out of it. And, you know, either players could threaten the green player, or bribe them, or, you know, offer them alliances in the future, or, you get the idea. And it would go to each of the 3 players that were offered alliances, and they would place 1 to 4 ships on either the offense or the defense, depending on what they chose. So then, okay, that upsets it a little bit. You know, now potentially I have a better chance, depending on who sided with me. Then we go to the actual, like, encounter phase. That's not the actual term, but whatever. And, we would both play an encounter card, face down. And encounter cards can be a couple different things. A few different things. But mainly they can be attack cards. And so attack cards have a numerical value on them. From 00 to 40. And the number on this card bolsters your force.
My hatred is too low.
So if I play an attack 15 and I have 3 ships, I have an attacking force of 18. So you can see how that changes things. And then the defense might play a defensive force of, you know, an attack card of 10. He's not attacking, really. He's defending, but it's called an attack card. So he plays 1 of 10. He's got, 4 ships, so he would lose the fight. Depending on allies and stuff like that. And so you play this face down, and you both reveal at the same time. So you don't know what the other person has or is going to play. And bluffing is definitely involved. I don't know the specifics of how much you can say about any cards you have in your hand. I don't know the rules for that. I think I read there aren't any specific rules, but it falls under the kind of table talk, general etiquette. So if your table wants to allow it, then you can, but some tables really frown on it. So it's it's not in the official rules. And then there are another type of encounter cards called negotiate card. And so negotiate cards basically say that we don't want to fight, we want to make a deal, we want to make a compromise. So if both players play a negotiation card,
hatred to do that.
You go into kind of a deal-making mode, where you have 1 minute for both players to make a deal. And this can involve a number of different things, such as if you let me put 1 ship on your planet, I'll let you put 1 ship on mine. And that's effective immediately. That's not like a promise. That would be an actual thing. Or I'll give you these cards if you let me put 2 ships on your planet, and blah blah blah. All sorts of deal making. If the players don't come to an agreement within 1 minute, they both lose like 3 ships to the warp, which is not something you really want to have happen. So you want to make a deal, but sometimes people are bitches. There are also reinforcement cards. And these are encounter cards that are played after encounter cards, or the attack cards or whatever, are revealed. And these are just like +5 or +3 or something like that. And allies can play this as well. So, you know, the defense might beat me numerically, but then one of my allies is like, no, I don't want to go out like that. I got this reinforcement card that's going to give us +5. Now we win, you know. And then maybe the defense decides to bust one out, you know, because they don't want to lose. So having allies is they're really invested then in how this battle goes. And back to the negotiation thing. If one player plays a negotiation card and the other plays an attack card, the attacker, the person that played the attack card automatically wins. Because the negotiators basically laid down their arms in peace, and then they just get slaughtered. The person that played the negotiation card does get some compensation, but it's not as good as, you know, actually winning the fight. So it's kind of funny because like you can bluff and be like, hey, we should negotiate this one. I don't think either one of us really wants to lose. And the other person's like, yeah, you know what? I agree. Let's negotiate. And then the person that started, he played down an attack card instead, and he's just laughing maniacally because he just owned you, and he didn't have. He probably played like an attack 0-1 card or something like that. But it doesn't matter. He wins because you played in negotiation. So you know that's kind of all involved. And so, you know, I won't go into specifics as how the results work, but you know, if you win the fight, it's obviously a good thing, and if you lose the fight, it's generally a bad thing. And the goal of the game is to get any of your ships onto 5 other planets in the system. So you can have 2 planets on red, 1 on green, 1 on blue, 1 on purple, if you're yellow, and that would be a win condition for you. And so you can have a shared victory then, if almost everybody has 4 colonies taken, and you're about to take your 5th one. They would probably all want to ally with you if they want a shared victory. Some people think shared victories are for, you know, pussies or something. But so that's pretty it. Now that in itself is pretty cool. You know, it sounds pretty cool. But you could see, you know, maybe it doesn't have the longest replayability. Aha! Hole. See, at the start of the game, every player is given 2 different random flare cards. And flare cards are another type of encounter card, or, you know, they're another type of card you can play. And they all do different things. Because they are all linked to different aliens, different species. And the base game of the Fantasy Flight version that I have comes with 50 different species that players can beat. 50 different ones. And they each have a power. And these powers, basically any given power breaks a single game rule that I've described for you. So they all do something variable and different and crazy. And they just, chaos ensues. I can't give any specifics because I haven't really played, and I didn't go over the aliens too closely yet. But, so, you're given 2 random flare cards, and then you're given the aliens, and you have to pick one of them to be for the rest of the game. And then the 2 flare cards that each player was given are shuffled into the encounter deck. And flare cards, if you're not the alien listed on it, like each alien has their own flare card. So if you have the flare card for Parasite, and you are Macron or whatever, those are the 2 I remember. It has a power on it that, you know, if you play the card, it does something. But if you are Parasite and you use the Parasite flare card, it's going to do something very awesome. Generally. And So flare cards are pretty cool. You know, they're not too common in the deck, and it's even less common for you to get the flare card that corresponds to your alien, you know. But that could be a big bargaining chip then. You know, if you see somebody is playing Parasite, you holding the card, you might be like, hey, I have your flare card, you know, what do you want for it? Or something like that. You know, there could be, if you ally with me for the next 3 turns, or you know, so I don't know. Again, I haven't played, so I don't know how it all plays out, but I'm very curious. And so having 50 different aliens in there and all that shit, the replayability and the combinations of all that is just kind of mind-boggling. And there's like expansions and shit that each add like 20 different aliens and different mechanics and stuff, and it's crazy. So I'm really excited to try it. As soon as I get 5 people together, I'm busting that out. Because that seems like right up my alley. You know, I really like these games that have, you know, negotiation and bluffing and you know, that are much more on the social aspect than just what's on the table, you know. Which is why I don't really care for Euro games too much. They, like, Ticket to Ride. You know, I've played Ticket to Ride a couple times now, and it just kind of seems like the other people might as well not really be there. Occasionally, their existence is proven on the table when you get screwed over. But as far as actual interaction goes, it's pretty minimal. And so I prefer games that kind of push that interaction. And so that's why I bought Shadows over Camelot.
Not enough hatred.
That is a game that definitely has some player interaction going on. I'm not sure if I ever talked about Battlestar Galactica, the board game, on a video, but I think I talked about it on the stream. Battlestar Galactica, the board game, is fantastic. I definitely recommend that. Even if you're not a fan of the show, the game will probably make you a fan of the show. I started watching the show after I played the game. And, but that's a game where the humans are trying to get to Earth. They're trying to get back to Earth, and because they're on the Battlestar, and so they have to deal with kind of resource management and fuel and stuff like that. And then it's compounded by the fact that Cylons occasionally show up in raiding parties, and they have to deal with, you know, the civilian ships that are around Galactica. They got to keep them safe because they can cost them population and stuff. And, you know, bad things can happen. And then the worst part is a couple of the key people aboard the Galactica in charge of certain things, aka players, might be, and well, generally are, Cylons in disguise. And so if you haven't watched the show, Cylons are basically, in the new version, they are basically robots that look exactly like people. Pretty much indistinguishable. And so the game feels a lot like the show, with all the kind of just paranoia and intrigue that goes around, where you're just constantly suspecting everybody around you of being, you know, a traitor, Cylon, evil, a toaster. And like every action that somebody takes is like, did they do that because, you know, because a lot of the choices that characters have to make, players have to make, is basically kind of bad choice, terrible choice, you know, where it's just these both suck. And sometimes you pick the option that might not even be for the best, but it's the one that people might not villainize you for, you know? Where it's just like, well, if I do this, this is probably better in the long run, but they're going to think I'm a Cylon, so I'm going to go with this one. And I just really love that whole aspect, that intrigue and, you know, the deception that's going on. Because if you are a Cylon, it's like, huh, you know, you're looking at that same problem in a similar, you know, perspective, but it's like they're gonna think I'm a Cylon, so I'm gonna throw them off the scent a little bit, and then I'm gonna accuse this guy over here, you know. And so there's a lot of accusations flying around. It's a fantastic game. The only problem with it, I would say, is the length. It tends to be a bit lengthier of a game. It was 2.5 hours or something, like 3 hours maybe. It's pretty lengthy. And so I really like it, and I'll definitely play it anytime somebody wants. But I looked at then Shadows over Camelot, which is pretty similar. It also features kind of a hidden traitor thing going on, and the whole paranoia stuff, and, you know, second-guessing decisions. But I think it condensed it a little bit more as far as playtime goes, and that appealed to me, because when people ask, you know, how long does this game take, you know, I'm always sheepish about being like, well, you know, 2 hours? Yeah, that's what I say, even though I know it's going to be 3 hours, and it's just like, because then people are like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to go do something else. So being able to condense it into like an hour, hour and a half, that's a lot nicer. And it does feature a different theme. It's, you know, Arthurian legend, and that appeals to a different type of people as well. Especially if you haven't watched the show of Battlestar Galactica. You don't have to have seen the show, like I said. I hadn't seen it when I first played, and I still loved it. But some people are like, well, I haven't seen the show, I wouldn't know what's going on, and blah, 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 blah. So having just general Arthurian legend, here's King Arthur, and there's Merlin, you know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty simple. So Shadows over Camelot, the mechanics seem a little strange, I would say. It's kind of pokerish, or set collection. Well, I mean, it's like the bulk of the game is the good guys want to complete quests, and so to complete quests, there might be a quest like defeating or getting Lancelot's armor. That's one of the quests, getting Lancelot's armor. And so to do that, one player has to go over to that section of the board where that's happening, and they have to lay down basically a full house. Like, you'll draw like cards from a white card deck, and there'll be a bunch of different types of cards, but mainly there'll be fight cards, listed 1 through 5. And so when you go to Lancelot's area to do that quest, you have to lay a full house. So like you have to lay 3 3s and 2 5s or something. And so it's kind of pokerish. It's set collection. It's not a brilliant mechanic. I would say I prefer BSG's mechanics. There's more variety going on, and it's a bit more entertaining as far as that goes. But it's definitely simple, and it's easy as piss for someone to understand. It's just, yeah, you need these 5 cards. You know, another quest is just lane 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you win. And, you know, you beat the quest. People understand that pretty easily. But I would say the best part about Shadows of Camelot is the fact that there might not even be a hidden traitor in any game. You know, much like BSG, you hand out loyalty cards at the start, and there are 8 cards. 7 of them are loyal, 1 of them is a traitor. And no matter how many people you're playing with, you hand out the 8 cards, and it plays up to 7. So no matter what, there's a chance that there might not be a traitor. Now, with 7 people, it's pretty likely. But the fact that there might not be a traitor increases the paranoia so much, because you're questioning then everybody's actions. Doesn't matter if they know they're loyal, and you are pretty sure they're loyal, but they do something that you're just like, I don't know about that. And so accusations can be flying, and it's just, yeah, I just really like that whole thing. I also have Resistance Avalon, which is basically the hidden traitor mechanic, just taken out of something like Shadows over Camelot. And just that, you know, it's just figuring out who's good, who's bad. That's it. So it's a much lighter game for 5 to 10 people. It's more party-esque, I would say. But sometimes, you know, that's all good. I don't need to set up a whole board and get all these things going. Just give me that hidden trader mechanic. I also bought 7 Wonders. Very highly recommended game from pretty much anybody. I think it's the #1 family game on Board Game Geek. So I'm looking to really just kind of diversify my collection. You know, I don't want just serious heavy games like Arkham Horror and stuff. You know, I want party games, I want family games, I want light card games, I want heavy card, you know, I want all that. So I had to get 7 Wonders. And so 7 Wonders is a card drafting game. And I won't go fully into the rules here because I have another story I want to tell and I don't want to get too involved. But the mechanics of it are pretty simple, but it's very interesting, and looks like just a fun game. Plays up to 7 people, which was a motivating factor for me. There aren't many games that play 7 people, so you know, yeah, it seems like a good family game. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. I also got Cash and Guns, which seems like a hilarious party game. I got For Sale. I got For Sale and No Thanks. And No Thanks is like just a dead simple card game. Like I could, you know, I could see me getting anybody to play No Thanks. And For Sale seems like a more expanded version of No Thanks. So kind of a bidding mechanic, but a bit more involved. I got Hanabi, which is a cooperative card game. That's not something you see too often, as far as I understand. But it won the Spiel des Jahres award, so I figured it was like $10 or something. I was like, sure, I'll pick it up. What else did I get? Well, I got Love Letter, and I have played Love Letter. That's a fantastic little game. If you are at all interested in card games, pick up Love Letter, for the love of God. It's like $8. It comes in its own little cute carrying pouch. It's 16 cards, and it's, man. Yeah, I would bust out Love Letter anytime. Like, you're just standing in line or something waiting for the movies or whatever, you know, just bust out Love Letter. That should be in your pocket. Yeah, I got Resistance Avalon, and then I got Say Anything. It's a highly ranked party game. And this, I got Say Anything because it reminded me of Cards Against Humanity. And I know Cards Against Humanity is kind of the hot thing amongst casual game players. Like, I've played Cards Against Humanity at friends' houses. They bought it. They bought all the expansions, and they just thought it was the greatest thing, and blah, blah, blah. And I played it a bunch of times. And we got some laughs out of it. But I always, like, if you get a shitty hand in Cards Against Humanity, it's just like, I myself am a funny person. These cards are not funny. I don't want this. I think you can, like, you know, throw your whole hand away and grab a new one, but it's just, I felt restrained in Cards Against Humanity, and Say Anything seems like it takes away those restraints, because you can say anything, but that's the truth. I mean, you can, the person that's the judge, they'll read a question off of a little card, and the card, it'll have like 7 different things. So it'll be like, what would my one wish from a genie be? And so then each person takes their little writing board, and they'll write whatever they think is the best response for that person. So that, you know, it might be 1,000 wishes or whatever, you know. if I'm asking that question, don't put 1,000 wishes. I'm just gonna punk that shit down. That's not the correct answer. But it just seemed like a lot more fun than Cards Against Humanity. I would play Cards Against Humanity if I was at like a cookout and they were like, "Hey, you want to play?" I'm not gonna turn it down. But I think at this point, if I'm going somewhere like that, if I'm going to a gathering, I'm bringing my own games. Okay. Because I don't want people to bust out Trivial Pursuit or some shit. I have evolved from that. So yeah. But again, most of these games I haven't played yet, but soon. Soon. Alright, so in a break from board games,
He's alive! Praise Akarat!
Come back for me.
Thank you, stranger. His family would never forgive me.
I have a
if I came
buddy.
back home without him.
and I won't name names, but a couple months ago, a month and a half, something like that,
I need to go back.
he got into a new relationship with this chick. And she's a professional psychiatrist. And she is 30 years old, so she's about 5 or 6 years older than us. And she made a boatload of money at her job. In fact, we knew a specific number. $270,000 a year. Which is, as far as I know, quite a bit. And she was... I never got to see a picture, but apparently she was relatively attractive. Okay. So we were all like, damn, man, good for you. We were proud of him. That sounds like a sweet package. How could we complain? How could he complain? It was all good. Obviously, since I'm telling you this story, there was something to complain about. And so all seemed to go well. Like, she would drive him out in her BMW. They would go to the fanciest of restaurants, and she would pay, the bill would be like $200, but she would just say, put your wallet away. It's on me. And he was just living the high life, man. And I couldn't blame him. That sounded awesome. And then we didn't see him for about a month. He didn't come out. He would just say, he's got things going on. We didn't hear from him much, and he didn't come out to Applebee's or anything like that. We were a little concerned. And then finally, last Saturday was my good buddy Ziggy's bachelor party. And so this guy was there. And I sat next to him, and I was like, hey man, how's it going with that chick? He's like, oh, not too good, we broke up. And I'm like, oh man, what happened? And so he looked around to see, to make sure that not everybody was listening. He wanted to keep this just to the closest of friends. And I will summarize his story. I won't quote him the entire time. Basically, this is gonna get slightly risque, but not too much. They started having their relations, as people do.
You won't survive that.
And
Has paid off.
early on, I guess, she wanted him to kind of caress her throat with his hand.
This will overburden me.
98% of you already know where this is going. I know. And he was apparently okay with that. And so she wanted him to then kind of, squeeze her throat a little bit. Like, okay. Then it moved on to more choking. And I think he tried it. But then she wanted, like, apparently he was being a wimp about it. So she wanted him to apply more pressure. And that's where he kind of was like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that. So then she said, oh, okay. It's fine, you don't feel comfortable doing that. Could you instead put this plastic bag over my head?
I require aid.
And, shockingly,
Feel my
he had a
wrath.
problem with
My
that
bag
as well.
is too heavy.
She also wanted him to, bite her, on the arms and the legs a little bit. I'm not sure if he actually did that. I don't think he said. He probably did. He also found a cutting implement in her nightstand. Because I guess she liked to be cut a little bit. And I was like, oh man, you found a knife in her nightstand? And he's like, yeah, well, it wasn't really a knife, it was it was one of the, like what doctors use? And I'm like, holy shit, you found a scalpel in her nightstand? He's like, yeah, scalpel. That's what it is. And that apparently still he wanted to stick with the relationship because you know things were good otherwise. And then one time she called him over to her house at night, and she wanted to lead him down into the basement, of which he had previously never seen. I know this sounds like a horror movie. He's still alive, so you can
I must wait longer.
you can unplug your ears. But he goes down into her basement, and sure enough, he finds a wooden table with straps. And she asks him if he would be comfortable strapping her onto this table. He says no, and they broke up. He said to top it all off, there was like a swinging light above the table, straight out of like Hostel. And he said she also had like whips, like medieval whips. I'm pretty sure he whipped her. He was probably crying more than she was, though. And so that's the end. Now, some of that, I mean, I don't know what's going on in your guys' head as you're hearing this story. I don't know what you're thinking. Some of you might be like, you know, 270K, attractive girl, wants you, all that stuff. Sure, you know, you whip her a little bit. And I wouldn't argue with you. You know, as he was telling most of the story, I was like, it doesn't sound that terrible. But then you think, like, you know, one of those times, you know, you might squeeze the plastic bag a little too hard, or you might cut a little too deep. And then as she's floating off into an afterlife of ecstasy, you're wanted for murder 1, you know, and it's just, it doesn't seem worth it. I would say she's definitely got some parental issues, if you know what I'm saying. And I told him, you know, he did the right thing. I told him he did the right thing. I'm just glad he's still alive, to be honest. So we were at brunch last week, and I was sitting there telling this story to a couple of my other friends that weren't at the bachelor party. And the bartender that's there was listening in. And we know the guy there pretty well, so I wasn't offended he was listening in. And he's like, after I finish, he's like, "Oh man, does this guy come to brunch?" And as I'm kind of shaking my head and saying no, one of my friends chimes in immediately. Like, this was just, he must have been like thinking about this before the bartender even said anything. He's like, "Yeah, actually, he's the guy that has the big mustache and dark hair." And this description perfectly matches that of our good buddy Studs, who most of you know of. Probably don't wish to know of him, but, you know. And so the bartender was like, "Oh, yeah. He hasn't been in here in a while. Man, yeah, he seems like the guy that would be into that." And me and the other guy are just sitting there desperately trying to not just bust out laughing. But the guy that said it, just level-faced, didn't even grin, man. It was just the perfect lie. It was amazing. And so then after we're leaving, we're like, this is like the greatest prank ever. Because when Studs, he wasn't there that week, obviously, but when he comes back, it's going to be just the most hilarious conversation. Because we're not going to tell him. And so today at brunch, Studs did come, but he also brought his fiance, and we were not planning on her coming. She comes like once a year, but she happened to come this time, and so we were laughing, just chuckling to ourselves as soon as we saw her, because we knew this was going to be good. And Studs and his fiance have a very unique way of interacting with one another. It's very abrasive, I guess. Like, he'll call her a bitch and stuff like that, or they'll like fight with each other. And they don't mean, you know, they're engaged. They've known each other a long ass time. But it's just, to a casual viewer, it seemed like something seriously wrong is going on. A casual viewer such as the bartender. And so we were just, oh man, I was trying so desperate not to laugh. And so Studs and his fiance went off to get another brunch plate or something. So we're sitting there with the bartender, and he's just like, "Man, you know, I know you guys said all that stuff. I'm just shocked that they would kind of like act like that in public, you know? Like, he doesn't know that I know, right? I mean, I know you guys pretty well, but this is, you know?" And oh man, I was just like, this is the best thing I've ever been a part of. Oh man. So yeah, that was kind of a winding story. I know the ending wasn't as good as the middle, but
Arrogant Nephilim.
yeah.
My servants will feed enough.
So we'll see what happens with that, because she won't come back next week,
My
but
servants
Studs will be
will
there.
feast
So I'm
on
hoping
your
that the bartender brings it up.
Arrogant Nephilim. My servants will feast on your pride as they devour
Oh
your
yeah,
flesh.
that's too funny. I can't get over that. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up this first episode. Hopefully, when I go to click the end record button, it actually ends the recording and doesn't crash. Well, if it does, you won't hear any of this. But, yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this first episode. Hopefully when I go to click the end record button, it actually ends the recording and doesn't crash. Well, if it does, you won't hear any of this. But, yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this first episode. Hopefully when I go to click the end record button, it actually ends the recording and doesn't crash. Well, if it does, you won't hear any of this. But, yeah, I enjoyed this. You know, this is probably better than Dark Souls because I don't have to concentrate nearly as hard. And, like, this is just whatever, which is probably for the best. But we'll flip around on different games and stuff. I got plenty that I could just screw around on and not care too much. Monster Hunter, I'm sure, will be thrown in there at some point. So, give me some feedback about about the series in general and about what I talked about. You know, I appreciate the comments. Let me know if you think this series should continue. Hopefully, you think it should. But yeah, all right. So, my name is Mangg. This has been a new series of Indeterminate Name, and I'll see you in the next episode.